does that even mean, Bowers getting the quarterback?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another installment of Games In, Games Out, where I talk about all the games that I'm keeping in my collection, all the games I'm getting rid of, and everything in between. So, starting off, we got 4 games that are actually all going out of the collection. First, we have Conquest of Orion, which I actually think is a spectacular trick-taking game. But the problem is, it's only 4 players, and I haven't played it in about a year and a half. I love this game. It's got some really cool special abilities, some really neat things going on, but 4 players, that's just too restrictive of a player count. And when I have 4 players, most of the time I'm not like, let's play a trick-taking game. Most of the time I'm like, hey, let's play a nice, dry Euro or something lengthier and meatier. So next we have Caper, which actually came out last year. I thought it was great. Really enjoyed it. My wife is not going to play it again with me. My son's not going to be able to play it with me for like another 8 years. And I just don't play 2-player games terribly often unless it's specifically for the purpose of a review. So Caper, unfortunately, despite the fact I think it's a great game, out of the collection, but still one I would recommend checking out if you do play a lot of 2-player games. Next we have Freya's Folly, a really good family game about going down into these mines and trying to come back up and get this cool stuff. And I liked this game an awful lot when I reviewed it a couple of years ago. It's 3 to 5 players, ages 10 plus, which really does scratch some itches that I like because it's a game night style game, but it's also a family style game as long as you have kids that are around that 10, 11, 12 age range. Problem is 50 to 75 minutes, so it is relatively lengthy. And this is one that, you know, if my kids were older, if my son was 10, 11, 12 years old, I absolutely would keep this game and we'd probably play this game from time to time. But right now, no, it's got to go. I got to make room. I got to make room. And I hate making choices like that. But the more I do this series, the more I'm getting rid of games that I like. Next, we have Simpsons Clue. This one was not a hard one to do. I looked at the rules and said, hey, is this literally Simpsons is this literally Clue but with the Simpsons theme? And yes, the answer was yes. Normally I don't get rid of games until I review them. Everything I get rid of, I review, but this I'm going to make a special exception for because I'm not going to review Simpsons Clue because I've already reviewed Clue and they're the exact same games. So Simpsons Clue out of the collection. Next we have Jenga, which it's Jenga. I reviewed it. I had it over here. It's been sitting over there forever. Played it, reviewed it, and now it's leaving the collection, but it is going into my classroom where a kid can take it home, and I'm sure they'll have lots of fun with it at home. So a kid who has good behavior is going to be able to take this home, and I'm sure they're going to be stoked about that. Next, actually, this is Shards of Infinity. This is the expansion box. This is an empty expansion box. I'm keeping the expansion. It's to Shards of Infinity, which I thought was a really good deck builder that came out last year from Stoneville Entertainment. I thought it could use just a bump up with an expansion. This is the first bump into the expansion, but I have it in the base box. So I'm actually keeping this, but the expansion box getting rid of. Next, we have Fry Thief, which is currently on Kickstarter, or it's probably done on its Kickstarter. It did get funded, and I gave it a preview, which, as you and I know, if you watch my channel, I tell you this all the time. If I give a game a Kickstarter preview, that means I don't recommend it. And I don't think it's a bad game. I just think I think it's good to okay. That's where I put it. Okay to good. Somewhere in there, but I can't really recommend an okay to good game to you because I feel like there's too many like great games that I'm getting rid of to say, oh yeah, go back this okay to good game about stealing French fries. It's a micro game. Whatever. This one is going out of the collection. Next we have Jet World, which, oh my gosh, this is a really bad game, if you couldn't tell, about going around the world and buying mansions and castles, diamonds, and then trying to sell them on the right time when this cool little world price board has higher numbers than what you paid for it. It's not a good game. It's your typical roll and move. There's all sorts of skip turns and garbage like that. And it's just, yeah, I can't wait till I get through all these games. So, oh my gosh, that's going to be such a good day. When I get through all these games, all these really bad games, and I can only have to review like hobby games, yeah, that's going to be a great day. Of course, then I'll probably get a whole bunch more of these stupid old games because it's kind of my niche. I kind of like reviewing them. They're easy to review, and sometimes they're fun. Next, we have Go Venture card game. I actually just recently posted a review for this mid-February. This is a really interesting game. Not because of the game itself. The game itself is pretty boring. But there's 2 separate games in this box, but the 2 separate games are the exact same game with different themes. So let's go back to the Simpsons Clue. Imagine if they release Clue, but then also Simpsons Clue in one box. And you're like, hey, what's the difference? Is there some cool difference? And you say, no, it's just different themes. So they decided to release the same game 2 times in one box, and the game itself is boring It's not a very good game. It's not a very well balanced game. There could be times where you just kind of stall in the game. It's not a good game. I'm not here to talk about the game, though. But it's a really interesting premise, because who the hell does that? Why would you put 2 of the exact same game in one box? I don't know. That one's going out of the collection. Get out of here. Next, we have Gugong. The first game that is going into the collection. Yeah, this is one's from Tasty Missile Game. This is a really interesting game. It's a worker placement game, but you're not actually placing workers. You're placing cards as your workers, and then you're taking back different cards. And this has a whole bunch of intertwined mechanisms, which I really liked. It reminded me a little bit of Orleans in that aspect, where everything felt connected to something else, except this one I think is a little bit more of a brain burner than Orleans is. I still like Orleans better than this, but this one warrants a spot on my shelf. I really did enjoy it. It goes up to 5 players. And I would absolutely love to see an expansion to this game. I think an expansion could potentially bump this up to a 9+, a Bauer's Best Seal. But right now, this is absolutely one I think everybody should try if you like worker placement games, because it has lots of really cool stuff going on to it. One that I'm absolutely excited to get back to the table, that is Gugong from Tasty Minstrel Games, who does support my channel, so thanks. Next we have Pirate Pong from Cortex Toys, which has this giant... I hate this! I hate when companies do this. At least cover it with plastic. This is ping pong, but you wear an eye patch. The net's plastic. And it actually works pretty good. So I don't have too many things to rip on it. This is going into my class, where one of the kids will take it home, and they'll have fun with it. And hopefully they won't whack people with this, because actually I had somebody... Ow! Actually, that thing does pretty much hurt. Actually, legit hurt. Yeah, it's ping pong, but you construct the nets, and they have some balls, you wear eye patches. It's actually pretty fun. I think I gave it like a 7. It's not bad. I have nothing bad to say about it. Next, we have Roll and Score Poker Game, which is late in the collection. This is going to go into the big mass of games that kids can take home if they make good choices. And Roll and Score Poker is a game where you roll dice and you score points. There's no poker, though. You're waiting for me to talk about poker. There's no poker. They just put poker on there because people like poker. And this is very misleading. It's an enjoyable game. I thought it was an okay game. It doesn't have to stay its welcome. The kids enjoyed it. Very light, very simple, easy to learn, easy to teach, but nothing about poker, so don't put poker on there. I was a little bit disappointed that there's nothing about poker, but still, it's an okay game. I would play it again if a kid wanted to play it with me. Next, we have Clickbait, which is a game in which you are going to rolling these yellow dice and making clickbaity links. Clickbaity. So, essentially, you'll have the dice will say BWSIF. And I'm actually just stealing from the back. It'll say 30-day energy drink, and then everybody's going to try and make a clickbaity title link that would get you to click on that 30-day drink. So, because sleep is for weaklings, because that's BSIFW. Become superhuman for weak. So that person will use 4 of the letters, which is fine. But essentially, you're just trying to get the judge to click on your clickbait link. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really good family game, and I thought it was a really good party-style game. Plus, it goes up to 8 players, which is always a good thing. And I do like the box. It's by Ryder Nitsia, too, of all people, oddly enough. So this one is going to go to my buddy, who does who pretty much has all my party-style games. And but yeah, this is one I do like, and I do recommend. If you're in the market for a party-style game or a family-style game that has no strategy whatsoever, because that is the other thing. This is a no-strategy game, but still one I did enjoy. Had a lot of fun with it, had a lot of laughs with it, but you do need a creative crowd. Next, we have Abalone, which is the game of the decade. It sold over 3 million copies. I gave this a 10 out of 10. It's the best game ever invented. No, it's not. It's an abstract strategy game. It's a really simple abstract strategy game where you have these big chunky balls and you try big chunky balls. And you try to push people around with your big chunky balls. If you have more big chunky balls than them, then you can push them one space. And if you can push them off the board, I think it's 5 or 6 times you win the game. It's an abstract strategy game. I don't know why it sold 3 million copies. I don't know why it was the international game. Like, when was it released? 1877, when there was only like 6 games out there. 1989, 1990, so it came out in 1989. So yeah, maybe the games in the 80s were really bad. I don't know. It's an abstract strategy. It's not worth keeping. I'm going to put it in my classroom where a kid's going to take it, and then they're just going to play with the balls. Continuing onward, we have Shinobi from... This one's from Japanime. This is a game that desperately needs a house rule. I'm going to start off by saying that I thought the game was okay the way the rules were written. It's got this mechanism in it where essentially it's a really simple game. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to play, and you're just trying to kill everyone else at the table by playing cards out in front of them, and they have to not match cards, or there's I'm not going to go over the rules. You want to see the rules, watch the video. But it's an enjoyable game. It's a small box game. But at the end of the game, when someone gets eliminated from the game, they're still in the game, but they can't win the game. And I hate when games do that. Unless it speeds up the game or you can make, I just didn't like how they handled that in the game. So we have a house rule with this game in my classroom, which is going to stay in my classroom. So I'm actually going to keep this one in my classroom, primarily because of its teeny tiny little box and how much the kids liked it, where once someone's eliminated for the game, they lose and everybody else wins. I actually like games like that a lot. But, yeah, Shinobi, it's okay the way the rules are written. I think it's a good to very good game when it's house rule, when you factor in the fact it's for kids. For adults, no. Hard pass on this one. But going into my collection for my classroom. Next we have Deer in the Headlights, which it's pure luck for the most part. You just roll dice, and do whatever the dice say, and you get rid of cards, and you try to get rid of all your cards, and you score points up on it. The way the rules are written, the game would take forever to play. I actually have 2 copies of the game. So one is going into my pile of games to just actually, you know what? This one will probably go into my piles to give to kids. And then this one is actually going to a very specific little girl in my class named Aaliyah. So big ups to Aaliyah, who actually taught me how to play the game. That was very refreshing. She brought a deck of cards from this game into it. And she said, oh, my mom threw away the dice or something like that because we lost something. And I was like, wait, I have that game. And she's like, oh, do you? Can you bring it so I can play it? And I was like, yeah, can you teach it to me? And she's like, yeah, I can. And I was like, yes! I did still read the rules, obviously, for the review. But it was nice, because for once, somebody was teaching me the game and then I reviewed it. But yeah, it's not a very good game. So I'm giving her that. Next we have Cahoots, which is actually a really, really enjoyable trick-taking game with a really interesting aspect where you're going to be teamed up with everybody at the table. So you're going to have one matching symbol with everybody at the table, and then you kill cards, and you pick back cards. This one, flying under the radar. I really like this game, and it's shorter. So yeah, I'm actually adding a trick-taking game and getting rid of a trick-taking game with Conquest of Orion, but this one plays 3 to 4 players, and it plays 3 and 4 players both very, very well. I think this is a game I've had for a long time. I think this is a low-key Dark Horse-style game that I'll get out every once in a while. Also, the kids in my class liked it, so family game. I think this game is simple enough that if you have, like, people who normally don't want to play hobby games, they'll still play this game, because when you get the game out, it looks like a straight up just like mass market style game, because it's all just symbols. Yeah, it's like this. It looks like a standard deck of cards almost, but with different symbols. Really like the game. Easy to learn, easy to teach. The box is way too big for it, but Cahoots from Mayday Games. I hope this one gets some traction. I really do like that game. Next, we have Shards of Infinity, which really shouldn't be over here. I've already reviewed it. I like it, and the expansion came out. I put the expansion into the box, and the game's still good. I think it's a very good deck-building game. I don't think it's great quite yet, or maybe it is just on the cusp, but yeah, I liked it a lot. Next, we have Most or Least, a really simple game in which people are going to try and predict what someone else is going to answer. So there's going to be a question, they'll read it out loud, and then they'll answer it, and everybody else tries to guess their answers. So, most likely to be true 100 years from now. Man steps foot on Mars, a Bigfoot is captured alive, hemorrhoids are finally cured. One person's going to be the judge, they're going to put down the answer, and everyone else is going to try and guess it. It's your typical mass market style party game, and I thought for what it tries to do, it does it pretty well. I think it's a good mass market style party game, and I think it's a good family game, and the kids in my class really enjoyed playing this one. So, I'm probably going to keep this one in my classroom. There you go. Next, we have Super Vampires from Queen Games. This is a game in which you are going to be trying to push these vampires around the top so they can collect garlic, and it's not a very good game. It's really, really difficult because it's a time game, and I did not have fun with the game. And also, it's supposed to come with like this little plastic vampire figure, and for some reason the plastic vampire thing isn't included, so there's like stickers on the box, and there's a thing saying, hey, ignore the rules where they talk about the plastic vampire thing. It just reeks of amateur hour. I don't know what happened there. But in the end, this is one of those games that I got on Amazon from Queen Games that cost like $6 to add on. And I was like, sure, $6, it'll be worth it. It wasn't worth it. So Super Vampires, not one that I can recommend. It just did not work out very well. Next, we have The Inventors from Parker Brothers. And this game is bad. B-A-D, super duper bad. I review a lot of these long box style games. Jet World. Well, not the Clue, but a regular Clue. All sorts of games like that. And this one really missed the mark. Once again, there's no interesting choices to be had in this. It's 100% pure luck. If you roll really well, you are going to crush people, and if you don't roll really well, then you're going to lose. And that's pretty much what this game devolves down to it. The big selling point with this game is this cool little contraption here, which has these metal clips in it, and it also serves as like a dice tower, and it rings. Yeah, so check it out. It goes, woo, it makes a noise, and that's cool, and that's the only reason why the game's made. It has a lot of Monopoly-esque mechanisms, but I would still rather play Monopoly than that game, because at least in Monopoly, there are some choices to be made with trading and whatnot. Down to our last 5 games. Next, we have Greed, a very simple press your luck dice style game. The first time I played, I did not like it, but the more I played it with the kids and more it grew on me, and I really actually kind of enjoyed it. It's just a really simple game where you have to get different combinations of dice in order to score points, and the first person to get to, I think, like 5,000 points wins the game. Very simple, very small box, which is why it's going into my classroom. Kids also enjoyed playing it. Next, we have Patchwork Express. This is a really good 2-player version of Patchwork, which I liked, but once I played it and I reviewed it, it just never got played again. You know what? You're getting saved. It says ages 6+, so I'm going to try and play this with my son. So you know what? Ignore that one. That one is staying in the collection. I'm going to play it with my son, Sean, sometime in the next week or 2. Congratulations, you just got saved. Next we have Pirate's Flag. This is a really enjoyable game, family game / lighter game night style game in which you're going to be taking these really cool pirate ships and you're going to try to get the pirate's flag, and if you're the first person to get the pirate's flag back to the Dread Sea, you win the game. But it's going to be you guys just punching each other in the face trying to get that. There's all sorts of different cards. That's the best part about this game. And one thing I really like about Card Lords, the company that made this, is they put so many different cards in their game. No clue cards are ever the same, which I really do like. They had Battle Goats, which is still in my collection. Still a fantastic small box game. So Pirate Flags, really liked it. A lot of fun. One that's staying in my collection. Next we have Phase 10 Twist, which is my favorite version of Phase 10. Now that's not really saying much because there's only like 3. Phase 10 Dice, Phase 10, and then Phase 10 Twist. But Phase 10 Twist is a better version of Phase 10. It's much more streamlined, it's much more simple, and it's much faster. I like it a lot, and I'm going to put it into my classroom collection. And if you like Phase 10, I think this is one you might want to check out because it does it better. It gets rid of all that stupid, annoying scoring they have to keep track of. Last, we have the Logo board game, which is not a very good game. It's a game where it's a trivia game, and you have to answer questions about various different commercials or logos or things. Like, look at the back of the box. Which one of these is the Doritos Loco Taco? And it's like, which A, B, C, or D? And if you get it, you get to move forward, and bleh, we played it. And the other thing was, it didn't go over well with the kids because this game was kind of dated, and the longer this game is out, the worse it's going to get because it's all about, like, oh, the Jolly Green Giant in the early 90s had this, and, you know, in, like, 2023, people are like, what? I don't remember the Jolly Green Giant's, you know, slogan from 34 years ago or something like that. So, no, it's not a very good game. You will see this one at thrift shops. I've actually seen 3, 4, 5 versions of this, different boxes of this. You know what I'm saying. It's not worth your time. Alrighty then, the next game we got is End of the Trail from Elk Creek Games. I thought this was a pretty good game. I thought it was a really good game when it came out last year. I didn't think it was great, though. I thought it needed something else to be great, and I tried it with the micro expansion they gave me. It didn't make it great, and it hasn't got played since then, so now it has to go off my shelf, even though I do think an expansion in the future could make it into a great game. Next, we have Ricochet. This is a really cool slapjack variant game where you're going to be trying to slap these cards around the table, and the person who does gets a card. First person to 6 cards wins. Really dig this one. It plays in about, I don't know, 2 minutes or something like that. Stupidly fast, going straight into my classroom. I wish the box was smaller, though. It's only like 50 cards. Next, we have Pounce, and I'm going to talk about quite a few abstract strategy games that I really like. This one's really cool. Has absolutely terrible box art. But this is one where you're going to be trying to jump over other people's pieces in order to capture those pieces, but other people can capture their pieces back. I didn't like it that much when I first played it, and then I played it some more and some more and more in my classroom, and the more I played it, the more I really stinking liked this game. It has a lot of different ways you can set yourself up, and as a children/family abstract strategy game, it's really good, but it only plays 2 players, which is why I'm going to be getting it and keeping one of these other abstract strategy games I have over here in my classroom collection. Next, we have Connect 4, which was killed. And let's do a history lesson. This used to be my favorite game. I'll talk about how Cards Against Humanity and Pandemic got me into the board gaming, the hobby board gaming market. Connect 4 was what got me into gaming, board gaming, period. I used to play the living snot out of this at my YMCA. I used to play it 10, 20, 30 times a day, as many times as people would play it with me. I was obsessed with Connect 4. and I'm actually getting rid of it because Score 4 right here completely replaced it for me. This is a really cool 3D game. We're going to have these pins set up, and then you're going to put beads onto the pins in the hopes of getting 4 in a row, but you can go in different dimensions. So you could have, you could go upwards or downwards or all sorts of different things. Really stinking cool game. Definitely an abstract strategy game that I wish I would love to see a reprint of it. Even if it's like Milton Bradley or Hasbro, I think they should really reprint that game because it is a really great game. It kills Connect 4 for me. Next we have Goblout the Goblinade, which is a really stupid name. This is a pretty good game. I'm not going to be keeping it because it just doesn't fit my game's play style. This is a game in which you're going to be trying to kill all the... Actually, you know what? I might keep it in my classroom because the kids really stinking liked it. Yeah, I think I will for the time being and see if it gets played in there. But you're going to have cards, you're going to be playing these cards, and it's kind of like, it's your typical sort of game where you can attack as much as you want, but you have to realize that by attacking, you are then going to be giving up your ability to defend with some of the cards. And you're going to be trying to put out 5 white cards to destroy everybody else at the table. It's kind of a dueling game, but it goes, I believe, up to 4 players. And as you put out white cards, though, they'll give you persistent special abilities. I liked it. I felt like it could have used some more persistent special abilities to really spice up the game, but still, I thought it was a really good game. That's Goblout the Goblinade. Really dumb name. Next, we have Witless Wizards, another dueling game. And I know you're probably wondering, which one would I prefer to keep? Well, I'm actually keeping Witless Wizards at home, and Goblout is going to be staying in my classroom, which means Witless Wizards, like, up here, Goblout's down here, but that being said, they're pretty close. Witless Wizards are going to be smashing together 3 different decks of cards, and then you're going to be drafting on your turn, taking 1 card for yourself and then drafting another card to someone else, and they have to take that card, and then you're going to attack people, and it's a really simple dueling style game. The kids in my class really liked it, the adults I played it with really liked it, and there's already 2 small pack expansions which give you new factions you can mix in. Really dig this game. I would love to see a lot more for this game come out because it's unlimited. You just get more of those little packs of cards and you can get all sorts of different things going on in the game. Really enjoyed that one. I think it's a great game with the 2 micro expansions which are included in there. They're like little packs of baseball cards essentially, but wizards. Next we have Brainstorm, which is a terribly god-awful, unbalanced game. And I'm just going to give you the clip notes. You're essentially playing Scrabble meets Tic-Tac-Toe, but here's the thing. You're going to, at the beginning of the game, you're going to roll all the dice, and half of them have X on them, half of them have O's on them. Each die has half X, half O's. And so if someone happens to get 8 X's and someone happens to get 7 O's, then that's fine because it'll balance itself out. But what happens in this game is someone will get 11 and then 4 or 10 and 5, and it happened routinely. And it's just an insanely and terribly unbalanced game. Also, it doesn't really change. You're going to make the same moves each and every game. It is just a bad game. Brainstorm. Super bad. Get the heck out of here. Next we have Tie and Tangle. This is a really weird and yes, I would say bad game. It's not that much fun. In which you are going to be standing on this big thing right here and then trying to wrap rope around other people, and you have 12 feet of rope and you're wrapping people up, and it's just weird. It's kind of like they tried to make a different version of Twister and it failed, and I played in my classroom and I felt like a weirdo because I was like tying up little girls and they were tied close to me, and then as the game progresses you just get tied closer and closer together, and I was like, you know what, you girls can play the next game. I think I'll sit out that one. Not a very fun game though. They didn't have that much fun with it. They were laughing at how absurd the game was, but that was the first time they played. After that it was just kind of, can we play something else? Next we have Goblet. This is a really rock-solid 2-player abstract strategy game. Once again, I'm only keeping 1 though. I'm keeping Score 4. This is going into the collection where the kids with good behavior can get them, and I know it's already going to get snatched up in the first couple days because the kids went absolutely nuts for this game. It is a great children/family 2-player abstract strategy game. Easy to learn, easy to teach. I have a wooden version which has nice components, but I actually don't like the wooden version that much. But still, Goblet. If you're looking for a 2-player abstract strategy game for your kids, this is definitely one you're going to want to check out. Really like this game a lot. And last but not, well, I shouldn't say that because I'm going to do another whole thing because this is all filmed not at one time. Spoiler alert. We have Tiny Ninjas. This one I'm going to be keeping in my classroom because it's a small box. It also has a magnetic clasp, but that's how a magnetic clasp should work right there. But this is a game. This is a 2-player dueling ninja game, but what really I like about this game is it starts off and you play a very vanilla version of the game, which is okay, or you can play like a slightly more advanced version of the game, or you can play like the real version of the game, which has a whole bunch of different cards that do all sorts of different things. And pretty much how it works is each card is dual use. It's either going to be used for attacking or defending, and you have to figure out when you want to attack, when you want to defend. It kind of has a little bit of the same feel as I mentioned, of Goblout, where if you spend all your cards to attack, then you'll have nothing left to defend. In Goblout, that's not as pronounced, so I do want to specify that because there's only really one card in the whole deck, but you do get quite a few of them that can attack and defend. But anywho, that's really not the point here. Tiny Ninjas really enjoyed this one. It's very well produced. The box turns into like this cool little dojo, and this is definitely one I can recommend. I am keeping it in my collection. Alrighty, the next game is Take It Easy. The classic game is a very popular game, and for a good reason. It's very light, very simple. It essentially is solitaire for a whole bunch of people, but the kids in my class love it. I enjoy it. It goes to an unlimited player count. I actually have I think 2 or 3 copies of the game, and this is what I'm going to keep for a very long time, and I'm probably going to consolidate it all to one box eventually if I ever got like a custom box insert. But this one goes over really well with families and kids. Let's Take It Easy, so I'm keeping that one. Next, we have Call to Adventure, which apparently is controversial because I thought the game was aggressively mediocre, and I still do. I didn't like it. I did misplay one of the cooperative rules. I also misplayed another rule, apparently, but it's not in the rule booklet. It's in some official FAQ, which that's not on me. That's on the people who made the rules for the game. And it just didn't do it. Yeah, it's pretty and it has cool components, but the storytelling doesn't come across. And the game itself just didn't do it for me at all. And it didn't for my group either. So Call to Adventure, one that I really thought was aggressively mediocre. And apparently that's a very unpopular opinion. But that one I'm giving to a buddy of mine who wants to play it solo. Next, we have Cosmic Run Mining Colony from Dr. Finn's Games. This is an upcoming Kickstarter, and this is actually a really solid 2-player game. It's a very light, simple 2-player game where you're going to be bidding on various different things and building your own mining colony. It's going to have some really nice components. And this is a Kickstarter that if you play lighter 2-player games, that, you know, think 30 minutes, this is definitely one you might want to check out. Plus, it's going to have a solo variant. I didn't get a chance to play the solo variant, but I think it might sell it for quite a lot of people. Really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a very good game with the potential to be a great game with some different variants and a solo variant, which are coming to the game. That's Cosmic Run Mining Colony. Check that one out. When I get a final copy of that, I think I will be definitely keeping that. Next, we got one that really hurts me to get rid of because I like the game so stinking much, but nobody wants to play it ever, and I really don't want to teach it ever, and that's Coup Rebellion CS4. This is when they tried to make Coup into like a big game with a whole boatload of different roles, and you know what? I changed my mind. I'm keeping that game. I want it. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. I don't care. I don't care if no one will play it with me. I'm keeping it. Next, we have Herbaceous Sprouts for Pencil First Games LLC. This is a spin-off of the original Herbaceous, which I thought was a really great game. And this one I think is a great game as well. It's a very peaceful, relaxing game about planting things in your garden, and it's a dice drafting game where there's going to be a bunch of choices of cards and actions and dice, and I really did enjoy it. I think it's very beautiful artwork, very peaceful game. A good couples game, and a good enough game night game. Plus, it plays in 30 minutes, and it really does. Easy to learn, easy to teach, one that I definitely can recommend. Herbaceous Sprouts, I'm keeping this one in my collection, along with Herbaceous. I think they're both worth having. Next, we have the Best of Chronology, a game for all time. This is a really weird game. This is Timelines. Let's just get this straight. This is Timelines, but with an added extra cool press your luck mechanism. So you're like, why haven't I heard of this game? Why isn't this game as popular as Timelines? Well, there's a big reason, and that's because the components are hot garbage, and the kind of questions you get is random. And apparently, I always like to mix up timelines. But after playing this game, I see why a lot of people don't. Because, you know, some of these questions, it's just like when I would play it with someone and they didn't know the category, I knew they were going to get it wrong for the most part. And I don't know. I think it's a good game. I do, but I think Timelines took the formula and improved it, made it smaller, which is also very appealing, made way better components because these components are bad, so not keeping this one. Next, we have Barista, the game, which is broken. Yes, it is just straight up broken. The rules do not teach you how to play the game, so you have to make the game up, and you don't know what you're doing, and when I say broken, I don't say that word lightly. Like, literally, the game will not work the way the rules are written. So you have to make up your own house rules as you go. Now, you can kind of see what they probably were trying to have you do in the game, but you're not completely sure. You're like, I think, I'm like 62% sure this is what they wanted me to do. But no, it's not a good game. And even with house rules, the house rules we made, it was not a particularly fun game. Barista, wow, really bad game. Next, we have 20-Second Showdown for Big Potato Games. Really dug this one. I like it literally takes about a minute or two to play the game, maybe 3, 4, 5 at most. And it's just this super fun game where you're going to have to perform a task in a time limit, and you're going to have the sand timer, and the sand timer is really big and it makes noise. And actually just get it out because it's actually a really stinking cool sand timer. Kids in my class went absolutely nuts for it. Went over really well in a party style situation as well. And it's a really great light family/party game. There are some downsides to it. I wish they would have came with special kids cards and like sorted those out so kids would be able to do the stuff. It's not inappropriate, but it's just the kind of stuff that kids won't have any experience with, like taxes or cell phones or what like stuff like that. But yeah, definitely one I can recommend. And it goes up to 20 players and it accommodates a large group very well. This is one you might want to check out if you're looking for more games in your collection that'll accommodate 10 plus. Check out 20-Second Showdown. I really did enjoy it. Next we have Warsaw, City of Ruins. This one hurts me a little bit. This is a great game. This is a great game that I really enjoyed when I reviewed it last year about building Warsaw after it was destroyed. It's actually a really fascinating story as well if you don't know it. Google it. But once we reviewed it, it just never got played. And I have no desire to go back to the rules, even though I know it's a great game. But it only goes 2 to 4 players as well, which is another strike against it. And Warsaw City of Ruins, unfortunately, just is not hitting the table. And I don't have the hugest desire to get to the table either, so it is out of the collection, giving it to a friend of mine. Next, we have My First Castle Panic. I gave it a Bowers Best Seal, so you know I'm keeping it. It is an absolutely fantastic children's game. If you have kids age 3 to 7 or 8, get this game. Just as simple as that. Maybe at the 7 or 8 range, you might want to try it before you buy it if they're a little bit more into the advanced games. But for the 3 to 6 range, they are just absolutely going to chomp on this game. It's a really cool game. They took My First Castle Panic and they consolidated it, and they did an excellent job. Highly recommend this one. Next, we have Crazy Eggs from Happy Bao Bob. This was a game that should have went over very well in my classroom and with my family, and it did not. It's this game where you're going to have to be tucking eggs in your armpits, underneath your chin, and all sorts of various different weird spots, while at the same time, you know, making chicken dances and doing all sorts of funky kids crazy stuff, like, you want to see Dad dance like a funky chicken? Crazy Eggs is for you, and it just doesn't work. The main reason why it doesn't work is they asking you to tuck way too many eggs in way too many spots, and it's insanely difficult when you have to like dance and get up and do things fast, and it just does not work. The kids in my class did not have fun with it, which was really surprising. And we also had an issue where someone tucked it under their armpits and they were super duper sweaty and nobody wanted to touch the egg. Like, not like, ew, it's on your armpit. Like, oh, there's pit sweat down there because he's dancing and spinning and he just is naturally sweaty kid. And I was like, ooh, I think we should sanitize that egg. That sort of thing going on. It just did not work. Crazy Eggs. Not one for me. Not one that I can really recommend. Next, we have a very odd game called Turbo Rally Card Game, which actually came with like real cars. Then you'd race them on these card tracks. And this is actually in a really weird box. I have a box over there, which are games that I know are never going to get played at game night, but I kept them because I wanted to play them with my family when they got older, which AKA is now. Going through that box, this was definitely a weak link in the box. And I think there's going to be a couple other things I get rid of in the box, because that was relatively early on in my reviewing career when I didn't have an insanely large amount of games to have. And now this game, I just have no desire to play it whatsoever. I read the rules, I was like, eh. So, yeah, this one is out. That is the Turbo Rally card game. I don't even know if it got funded on Kickstarter. They supported our Kickstarter one year. So, yeah, that one is out, and I'm just going to put that one in my classroom to let the kids make their own tracks, and they'll have a lot of fun with it. Next, we have Dragon Strike from Milton Bradley. This is a game which has a gimmick, and I'll show you the gimmick. The gimmick is that you are going to be putting gems on top of your meeple's head as you're moving around the board trying to collect the gems. But there is going to be a dragon, and every once in a while, the dragon will swing his mighty neck around with this cool secret button here, and he might potentially knock the gem off your head. It's a gimmicky Milton Bradley electronic game. It's garbage. Just kidding. No, it's actually really great. I like it a lot. It's dirt simple, easy to learn, easy to teach. The kids go nuts for it. I brought this in my classroom, and it was just something I had back here on the wall. I just wasn't expecting much out of it. I didn't even think the dragon was honestly going to work because it's been sitting in there, and I was worried about battery corrosion or whatever. Batteries weren't in there. Game works spectacularly, and it's just fun. It's a really stinking cool game. It's a great family game. It's a great children's game, and it just brings this great sense of tension when the dragon's like swinging around. You're like, no, don't hit me, dragon. The gimmick works, and when the gimmick works, the game works, and this gimmick does work. Dragon Strike is a game that I'm going to have in my collection for as long as I have a collection. 3 more. What do we got? We got Hecho! This is a game that I've had for a very, very long time, in which you are going to be building various different things by collecting these materials, but the game also has a really interesting trading mechanism where you can trade from cards in the center and also trade from people on the outside. It has some interesting choices on how you should spend your resources. And as I was reviewing the game, I realized how much I really did like the game, because the kids in my class liked it. It plays in about 15 to 30 minutes. It goes up to 6 players, and Hecho is actually going to stay in my collection. I'm going to try it out on my game night again. I played on my game night a couple of years ago, and it actually worked really well. And went over really well in my classroom. So Hecho, surprisingly, staying in my collection. It was one of the first games I ever got, and it does work pretty well. One game that does not work pretty well is Jack Straws, a Parker Brothers game in which you're going to take a little piece of metal and you're going to try and pick up crutches and guns and rakes and ladders for some bizarre reason. They don't even tell you what the story is. The rules from the back of the box. It's not a particularly good game. It's boring. It's insanely difficult. And it just wasn't very much fun. Like, I literally looked over to the girl I was playing with and I was like, "Are you having any fun?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Do you want to play it again?" And she's like, "Not really." And I was like, "Okay." And then I got another little girl to play with me, who also was not the biggest fan of the game, but she did like it slightly more, but not one I could recommend. And last but not least, we have Noir, the Chronicles of Crime expansion, which also, bam, 2 hours best steals in one video. Yeah, it is freaking spectacular. It adds 4 new actions to the game, and it takes you back to the 1950s, or after World War II, where there's racism and sexism running rampant, and the stories are insanely interesting, and just, whoa! I love Chronicles of Crime. I love this expansion. I can't wait to see what else they come with. But the big thing is the new actions. There's also new cards, which I did like, but you can't mix them with the old cards, which is a little bit of a bummer. I hope they do it in the future. Maybe make a time travel scenario. Ooh, that'd be awesome. But the new things are that you can bribe people, you can tail people and follow them, you can rough people up, and you can kind of be like, tell me the true story. And then there was one fourth action, which is just currently dodging my head. But the actions add a whole new element to the game, and it makes it a spectacular game that I awarded a Bowers Best Seal. Not as a solo game, though, but when you have more players, Noir is absolutely freaking fantastic. Definitely check this one out if you have Chronicles of Crime. And there you go. That is Games In, Games Out. If you're enjoying what I'm doing, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. If you want to support the channel, click on that Amazon Associates link down below. Buy anything on Amazon. It throws a couple pennies my way. It really does help support the channel. And I've noticed a lot more people have been doing that lately. It really does help. We're kind of, I think I made like 15 or 20 bucks last month off of that, which was awesome because, hey, it's better than nothing. And if you're enjoying, let me know in the comments below which of these games that I'm getting rid of is wrong. Let me know. Which of these games, if you could keep one of these games that I'm getting rid of, which one would you keep? Because I'm very interested. I don't know, I shot these at 3 separate times, spoiler alert, so I don't know what was in the first 2 videos. But let me know, and as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.